Hi guys, we're doing the distributive property again today. We've got a couple more terms to work out, and then we're going to learn how to do it a little bit more quickly. So first of all, here is an illustration of the distributive property. Again, it's got an equal sign and two expressions that are equivalent to each other. The first thing we need to learn is the names of each of the sides. On the left side here, when we have 3 times something inside of parentheses, that left side is called factored form. The right side is the result of the 3 being multiplied by the stuff inside the parentheses, and that's called expanded form. Now let's just focus on the left side, the factored form. One tricky part is to see this form on the left here, on the left of the equal sign, as only 2 things being multiplied together. It looks like there's a lot of things, and there are. There's a 3, there's a 4, there's an M, there's a plus sign, there's a 2, there's an N. But in some way, you've got to be able to see this as 2 things being multiplied together. Here are the 2 things. The first one is the 3. That's called a factor. The other factor is what 3 is being multiplied by, and that is everything else. So that's a second factor. So one way to look at this is simply 2 things being multiplied together. 3 times all of the stuff inside the parentheses. Each of those 2 things are factors since they're being multiplied together. Now, what's the result of 2 things being multiplied together called? That's called a product. So this thing, grouped all as one, is simply called the product, because it is the result of these 2 things being multiplied together. So one more time, the left side is called factored form. The right side is called expanded form. On the left side, it's made up of 2 things being multiplied together, each of which are called factors, and the right side is called the product. Why don't you try one? In a minute, I'm going to write a new equation and ask you to label the factors and the product, as well as which side is factored form and which side is expanded form. So take a second to look at all of the labels here, because in a minute, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. Got it? Okay, here we go. Here's your new equation. Take a second to write it down and try to label each of the factors as well as the product, and also label which side is the factored form and which side is the expanded form. Pause the video and figure it out. Here it is. If you said one of the factors was 6 and the other factor was all of this, 2a plus 4b, you got it. If you said all the stuff on the right side was the product, you got it again. And the left side was factored form and the right side was expanded form. Great job. Now, on top of this, the rest of today's lesson is about getting practice turning a factored form into an expanded form using a quick method. Let's take this factored form, for example. We want to turn it into expanded form. Here's the quick method. We take the factor on the outside of the parentheses, 3, and we multiply it by both of the terms inside of the other factor. So I take 3 and I multiply it by 5c. I don't have 5c anymore. When I multiply the 3 times the 5c, I get 15c. And when I multiply the 3 by the 4d, I don't have 4d anymore. I have 12d. This, in fact, is how people often remember the name the distributive property, because it appears as though we're taking the 3 and distributing it equally to the 5c and to the 4d. This is the quick method for turning a factored form into an expanded form. Simply multiply the first factor by both terms inside of the second factor. So there you have it. the distributive property, the related vocab, and a quick way to turn the factored form into the expanded. Have fun!